at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more.
Hey everyone, it's Tuesday night again. You know what that means, don't you? It's time to join Mike and Christy for another episode of Where's My Sage? A show hosted by a psychic medium and a guy on a quest to find Bigfoot. Who would have thought? Together, they will take you on all sorts of adventures, and not with lots of different people. Christy even gives readings. It's time to sit back, get up and get ready. You can't sample the universe sitting down. Your hosts are waiting. Come on, let's go!
So we're going to try this again. Hi, I'm Mike from Where's My Sage with my wonderful co-host, Christy London. How are you, Christy? Now that I hit everybody. The right buttons to get the broadcast studio going. It's going to be one of those days.
I'm going to pee my pants. Okay. We went through the whole thing. Guest in the back. He's like, okay, here we go. The whole beginning. We go on. And he's like, I didn't go live.
Nope.
What?
One of those days.
Sorry. After that kind of the days that we've had today, holy cripes, so we're not even together. Go figure.
No.
Done.
No,
that was like icing on the cake.
The cars are killing me all on their own today.
My God.
The research vehicle's back from the shop. Didn't have to buy a new one.
Breathe.
So, yes.
Can't even breathe very well.
So we get. Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, we've been to the mountains and back. We see some crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Private investigation last week. Got some other big events coming up. So we really got a cool show with some great people, and they're back there. And for anyone trying to text me between the show, I just threw my phone across the room. So don't. I am not answering Facebook or text messages or phone calls. So
that's right. Don't bug him. He's working.
It's gone. No, not whip. I just threw it. It's much better.
I'm cracking the whip. No phone.
Hey, no crapping, because I'm gonna hit the button and get the banners going and everything. Where's my banner? There. Occasional explicit language, especially tonight.
Oh, shut up! I haven't misbehaved yet.
Yeah, but I know who's here tonight. So.
Oh yeah, you are so outnumbered.
Yeah.
Half of our trip up to the investigation last week was, oh my God, I'm going to get my ass kicked next week. Oh, there it is.
So.
Oh my God, I'm going to be so done. Yes, you are.
Some housekeeping. Please like, share, subscribe, hit those buttons. We tried to do something new on YouTube and through Amazon, and it got bounced back because I still need some more subscribers on YouTube and the Instagram. So
yes,
please, folks, like, share, subscribe, bounce over to the YouTube. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Connie.
So she got us in full effect over the weekend. So
oh yeah.
Hi, Shireen.
Wow, everyone's coming on. Hi, Shireen. How are you? Hi, Penny. Hi, Michelle. You didn't say hi to your mom.
I said hello.
We'll say hello again. I didn't see it. I missed it.
Okay. Well,
I got your back. Michelle.
Probably went with the first time, and it's right there when I did Chris's and.
Oh, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. So. What do we got going?
So we have quite a group tonight. I can't wait. I love these ladies. And we're going to talk about the awakening process, and we're going to talk about all of our experiences and how they affect us and what's going on and what it was like for all of us. And these ladies have all different experiences and stories to share. So it's going to be very exciting, and we're really looking forward to having them on tonight. So I really don't want to waste too much time. I mean, do you want to do housekeeping stuff now?
Just do it quick, get it out of the way.
All right.
Back doing readings again. That's
and
if you there.
Yes, and I have to say too, if anyone who wants to book a party, I am doing private parties, and the fall is already starting to book up. So if you are looking to do a party this fall around Halloween, whatever the case is, please book it now, because you might miss out. I do book more than I usually do between the months of September and December to try to get everybody in. But even doing that, it still books up pretty quickly. So yeah, contact me now if you want to do a party or an event of some sort.
And we found some cool locations. Hopefully we're just going to make some more connections. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Looking ahead to some other bigger events. So yes. All right. Oh yeah. And just for those of you who saw, I did have to cancel. I was supposed to have a live gallery show this coming Thursday in downtown Buffalo. I had to reschedule that. So I am looking at a date in August. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And hopefully the weather will cooperate. People can walk around and enjoy themselves and, come to the show and it'll be great.
We're not all full masked again.
I know. So don't even go there. Oh my God.
All right.
No, thank you. All right. So are we ready for this? Are you ready for this? Can you handle it?
I'm taking a deep breath.
You're going to get your butt kicked. It's going to be
meditation
awesome.
Stuff. I don't do any of this stuff. It's not my thing, so.
Oh, yeah. We'll break you. One of these days we'll break you.
I'll run around in the woods. That's my thing. So.
That's like a form of meditation. I don't know why you always say it's like not,
No, I'm going to meditate in the woods. That might be a good place to go tonight. So
there you go. Go hide.
Yep.
Dig a hole. There you go.
Yep. Land Rover's packed in the back. All right.
I'm going to apologize now, you guys. Of course, I have issues because we're live. So got the whole head thing going on again.
Issues.
So bear with me.
That's what we're calling
it. You know what?
All right.
Without further ado, or before I take Michael's head off. No. Hi, Sheila. We would like to welcome on the show tonight Miss Wendy, Melanie, Mary, and Yvonne.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi,
everybody.
Good evening.
Hi. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
How are you all?
We're doing great.
Good. How are you?
We're very well. I'm better now that I have my girls with me.
I mean, I was laughing, when you guys weren't live. That was pretty funny for a second.
Funny on this end, too, when I realized that we could have done a whole show and it would have been nice and quiet for me.
Oh, my God. Love it. It brings the energy up, right? When you laugh, it brings the energy up.
Absolutely. We have to raise the vibration. I think after talking to some of you and even just other people today, I think it's been a day for all of us. I don't know what's in the air, what's in the water. I don't even think it matters at this point. It was just the day.
Yes, it was.
Moon's crossing or what the hell it is. But I'm like, okay, I'm done and over this day. Although I will speak to the positive and I will manifest the positive and say that it could have been a lot worse. It really wasn't all that bad. It was just a day. And we'll just, look
we'll
forward
call it
to
that.
The future. Hi. That's right. That's right. All right. So why don't we start off by having you each tell us a little bit about yourselves and we will go from there. So Miss Wendy, why don't you give us a...
Hi. So I have known since a young child that I've had abilities and I didn't really understand them until I became an adult. And that process for me has really evolved over the last 2 or 3 years. Understanding my abilities, my talents with it. I will say when I was younger, I always had a lot of anxiety. And what I didn't realize, I was always picking up on other people's emotions around me and learning about my ability and learning to ground myself and understand the signs that I can see or feel. It helps me help others around me with it. So that's something that I've always had around me. I can hear signs, I can see. Sometimes I have visions for people that have helped me as a child. I even knew I was getting a bike for Christmas, which was kind of cool sometimes because this, you can see things, you feel them. And I've always had an ability to try and heal people, whether it's through herbs or just talking to them. And I realized that's just something I naturally like to do, research food, herbs, and things like that. So I try to use that with my friends and my family. And I really have, I feel like like I've come full circle with that in the last couple of years also.
That's great. Yeah, people don't realize, how all the different things are connected, like nutrition and, just, the things we put into our bodies and supplements and, nature, and just, it's all a part of the whole spiritual level of things, I guess you could say,
Yeah. I agree with that. I do have a strong spiritual, I pray, I meditate, journaling, which you've kind of worked on me with that about. It's really important to self-care. And when you don't self-care is when you tend to get overwhelmed more and more. And learning to take a step back is a good thing sometimes, and just focus on self-care and trying to understand what you're going through. And every time I've gotten to a different level of where I am, I've really gone through some crazy episodes of dreams or visions or colors that I've seen. And once I try to interpret each detail of those, it helps me understand, okay, it's a good thing what I'm seeing, or it's a great thing that I'm seeing. And it helps me with my daughter, who also has ability too, to help and guide her with her abilities.
Very interesting, because that's definitely something I want to touch on with all of you tonight as well. Very good. Thank you, Wendy.
Well, thank you. All right.
Who wants to go next?
Minor disclaimer, Wendy did grow up in the same neighborhood with me, so it could be the water that we all got goofy with.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to admit that or not.
You said I would what would I let loose, so, but
okay.
Yes.
The dam is opening.
Drop me on my head, so watch. If you notice things go back and forth, folks, that's sibling rivalry in the neighborhood.
We drink the same Kool-Aid in the neighborhood, right, Mike?
Yeah, there's something wrong with that Kool-Aid.
Well, yeah. See, people are messaging me now because you're not. Actually, no, it was the other kid. She forgot we were live. So, yeah. That was the other brother.
I see Sean's comment there.
Yeah. All right. So who would like to go next?
I guess.
All right, Melanie.
So, yeah, I'm Melanie Rimkus. I am me. So I guess today we're really talking about the awakening process and a little bit about ourselves. I'd have to start. When I was younger, I definitely knew that I had psychic ability or foresight, knowledge. I can say for me, though, to say that, when I was sleeping at night, when I was little, that spirits were coming to speak to me, or I saw my grandma in spirit, it was impossible because she was still alive. But both of them, right? So I couldn't see them, but I didn't feel, see, hear, know dead people or anything like that. But as I started to go through the awakening process in my 30s is when all of what Wendy started to talk about and all those different changes really happened for me. So in all truthfulness, my awakening came after I already had my child and my career and was more established in life is when things changed for me. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, Miss Mary.
So it's crazy. I feel like I connect to both of you guys because listening to the anxiety part, how many times did I go to the doctor saying I have depression, and yet it's the million spirits around me. And then listening that you guys both have kids that are dealing with it, I have that as well. So I'm oh, I found a family who I can talk to. But about me, so I knew from same thing. I knew since I was little. I remember going to my grandma's house and I was 4 and I would speak to her mom who had been passed away for 40 years in Italian to her. And I would go tell my grandma and say, I'm seeing your mom and talk like this. And she's like, well, she's been dead for this long. So I've known that I could see, but I've, really worked on my career first and I wanted to go in the corporate world. But I still remember seeing my boss's mom standing behind her. And I'm like, in a board meeting, do I tell him that she has a message? It's now, what do I do? So I shut it off for a really long time. I
can see. So I used to be, they change it on me all the time. I used to be able to see spirit as if I'm talking to you guys. Sometimes they make me see a movie reel. If I touch you, I automatically go into, if you've had traumas in your life, I can see it all happening in front of me. So I don't hug as much, and I apologize if I ever meet you and I don't hug you, because I can start seeing your life. And I was lucky enough to work for Alex and Ani, the corporation, and we had a shaman that had worked with us. She was Native American. She was 80 years old. She traveled with us. She blessed all of our stores, and she pulled me aside. Well, actually, she had requested to travel with me. And then she pulled me aside and said, I won't tell you what she said because she swore, but she was like, you have the gift. You have the gift of God. So why are you doing retail crap? Why are you not healing people? And I looked at her and I was like, are you trying to make me quit Alex and Ani? Like, that was kind of weird. But I knew what she meant. And she told me teachers would come along the way. And so the last 2 years, I mean, I'm still in corporate right now, but I'm enjoying it. I am, every day as I'm learning something. I've embraced so many people in this journey. I'm just, every day it's like I'm growing each day, and I love it. It's such an amazing experience. But finally my doctor bills have gone down, because I used to think I was having a heart attack 24/7, and my poor husband was taking me to the doctor 24. I mean, Justin, he was like taking me 24/7. And now I'm like, okay, it's spirit. I get it. I'm listening.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how that stuff that happens? Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Like all the health issues. I'm like, my doctor must think I'm crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Michael. Did you unmute for a reason?
Yeah, I was changing channels. I had a comment, but you followed up on it, so we're good. I'm just here to push buttons tonight.
Oh, you're very good at pushing buttons, let me tell you.
I was just about to say the same thing. Growing up with Mike, he definitely knows how to push the button. Yes, he does.
Oh my gosh.
Look at how red he is.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm going to call it the B Road crew, Mike.
That's the camera.
The B Road crew.
The lights in front of me.
We'll blame the camera.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. All right, so Miss Yvonne, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being
So
here.
you guys can hear me.
So
because I'm having some technical difficulties. Well, thank you guys for sharing your stories. I definitely can relate to you all. I didn't really know as a child. I wasn't aware, for instance, that I could see things. They would happen, and I didn't know why. And so I would see like shadow people. The biggest thing with me was dreams. I would have so many dreams and so many different symbols, and I didn't understand what was going on until after, let's say, something would happen. And then I would think, oh, that relates back to my dream. So that must be what that symbol meant. And so as time went on in school, I remember kind of confiding in my girlfriends and saying, oh, I had this crazy dream. And for example, I feel like we're going to hear about a big death or something like that. And then it would happen and they would, kind of tell each other, and it would come back and, oh, Yvonne, did you actually like, dream of this? And it kind of scared me because things were happening and it was kind of taboo to really talk about it growing up. It was just like, are you sure you're seeing things? Are you sure you're hearing things? But as time went on, I started getting more and more dreams. I would see spirits, communicate with them. They would touch me. I'd feel cold, electric power. Lights would flicker. It was just, it kept getting, more and more. And then, as time went on, my mom had passed away, and I went to go see Christy a couple of years ago and was telling her that, I wanted to connect with my mom. And after we were all done talking, I asked her, I said, these things have happened to me throughout my life. And I was just kind of curious. Do you think I have some sort of ability? And she says, oh yeah, you know? And so she started to mentor me a little bit. And once that happened, then that's when the awakening started. And all kinds of things started happening. You know, I started, like, for instance, in my dreams, I would always be in crowds. There were so many people trying to come through. Um, it was interesting because it was like constantly every night. You know, everywhere I'd go, I'd have lights flicker. And I could go on and on with stories, but eventually people started coming through as well. And so it was pretty interesting, and I'm really developing it even further now.
That's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think we lost Melanie. Okay. Oh, good. She'll be back. Okay. I know. I think with the weather, excuse me, it's screwing with some of our connections tonight. So be patient with us, everyone. I think we've been lucky so far, though, for the most part with that. So it's interesting to me because I know for myself, the quote unquote awakening process in my mind never really happened. And so that always, it always made me feel like I didn't fit in when I already didn't fit in, even though I fit in. Does that make sense? So like I always had people, you know, friends, and I don't think I had any other different kinds of bullies or, you know, kids who didn't like me or picked on me growing up than anyone else really did besides being really bullied. But, you know, like your normal kind of stuff. And then, you know, being different, I think the idea of actually awakening is different for all of us because I, like the rest of you, can really look back into my childhood and say, I've always been this way. This is what I always knew. It just started here and I continued to grow. And so what would you consider to be an awakening process? And do you feel like you had an awakening process? Because I know for myself, I don't feel like I had a true awakening process like somebody who went from really not being connected and feeling nothing to being in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. And all of a sudden, boom, life is different. And this stuff is just starting to happen. So what do you girls think about that? Like, what's your opinion on that, or what's your feeling on that?
Just a quick.
Yeah.
Did you go up to kids in the lunch table at lunch and give them readings like you do in the restaurants now? Just wondering.
Wait, you did.
Listen,
an honest question from the skeptic in the audience who's seen stuff work, but just wondering. Let me bring
and if
Melanie
any of my kids are watching, they're going to validate that for you hardcore. I'm sure. Abby's
still go to the lunch lady and say, "Hey, your grandmother's messing with the macaroni and cheese over here."
No, but you know what? I was voted most school spirit for my senior year because I would go and talk to everybody. I was one of those kids who had my few friends in high school, but I could get along with any of the groups, any of the kids, any of the people. It didn't matter. Everyone knew me. I liked everyone. I didn't care. I could fit in pretty much anywhere if I wanted to, which was nice because I just did my own thing and I would just go where I felt like going or do what I felt like doing. So
okay, that was just a cool, school spirit. Sorry, I knew we were going that way. All right, yeah. Let's get back to the serious stuff. But I just had to ask that question.
And I call those my Long Island media moments. So no, did I do it as a kid? No, I did not. Did I do it as an adult and freak out my whole family and my friends? Yes, I did. Okay, I don't know what to tell you.
So I'm a little surprised that you didn't give our waiter at Aladdin's, Dan, a reading.
What did we call
Just
him?
saying. We called him Hot Dan.
And where's Christina when we need her?
I know. We were trying to look for that. And I think she's on here somewhere. I do want to say I saw Sean's comment that I'm much older, but I look much younger, Sean. So thank you for that beautiful comment.
She's just kissing up. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. I heard that.
Wait.
Just kidding. So funny.
What is Aladdin? Is Aladdin like a strip club? Because I feel like I'm missing something.
A strip club? Well, I have to clarify because my husband's watching. It's a Mediterranean restaurant that serves homemade hummus and falafel and wonderful treats from the Mediterranean.
Can I join your guys' next trip then? I mean,
absolutely.
Wink, wink.
So, Christy, I feel the same as you. I don't know that I had an awakening process because I always felt heard, things around me since I was in the crib. I have one vivid memory still since I was in the crib, probably at the age of 2, that stays with me, like it happened yesterday. I think for me that every time I want to say level up, almost like I'm playing a video game, level up, I go through a process, and the dreams are incredibly vivid. I mean, and just outrageous sometimes. And then you do feel like pressure or a little more anxiety around you. But then when you sit down and you break it down, each detail, and you meditate on it, you realize that there's something clearer for you, or more details coming through for you, or you recognize a pain in the back of your head and what that means, or something physical in your body when you're talking to somebody. That means there might be a spirit around them that's trying to give you a message for them. So I think every time I go through a process that changes me, I call that a new awakening. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Nope, I totally understand that. How about the rest of you?
So I have to agree. I don't think I had that moment where I was like, oh, it's awakening, because I've been able to see since I was 4. But I do remember the first time having a crazy experience when this kid in school touched my arm. And I remember it was like a movie reel kind of going through, and I could see his parents, and his parents had died, and they were like in a car accident. And I didn't know this. And it was like going through, and in middle school, I'm like, what am I seeing? And I remember sitting down and talking to him and asking him about his life. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm adopted. My parents had died. And I was like, oh, did I really just see that in my head? So that's why I don't hug people, because I can see all that stuff. So I knew I was different, but I don't know if it was like awakening, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
I want to make a comment. It's interesting on how we all would like have the perspective or the opinion on when the awakening really happened, because I can relate to some of those psychic intuition moments that you guys talk about. I can pull some experiences up when I was a child, probably more starting at the age of 14. But everything, it seems like pieces of what Mary said or Yvonne said or Wendy said tend to show up more when I was like in my 30s. And you really don't initially understand what's going on until you can take those pieces, put them together. And then I think once you do put it together, that's when you really get the awakening. You're like, wait, so many experiences have happened. There must be more to this than coincidence, right? Or just maybe you assume at first that everybody has this ability, or everybody has a little bit of a foreshadowing dream. I mean, I think dreams are really commonplace, and you guys have both spoken about that. Or even like visions like Mary has, which Mary, that sounds, I'm sure when you're younger, a little, I'd be taken back by it, but that's cool. That's cool. Someone touches you and you get a vision. Like, I mean, that's not how it works for me. And I think it's great, but I think if that happened to me, I would think there might be something. I would be questioning my own sanity, just like you did. Like, did that happen? Did it really happen? So yeah, I guess putting it together, I guess the point was, so many things could happen. Like people listening right now, you guys could all be going through the awakening process just in a different way. So if you start paying attention, you might recognize that, wait a second, these things are happening to me too. I just didn't know that was part of it.
Well, it's funny you say that, because it's like, I don't know for you guys, but it changes for me. Like now, all of a sudden it's crazy, because if I'm going to have a reading, maybe scheduled 2 days from now, all of a sudden, whoever wants to talk to him is waking me up at 3 a.m. Like just the other day, this kid, I mean, it would be like, at first I would kind of be like, not shoved awake. It's like, you just get that feeling. So I'm like, what is going on? And I would wake up. It's nothing. The next day, all of a sudden he presents himself to me. He's making my head hurt. It's 3:45 for 3 days in a row. And he's like, I need to talk. And I saw him and I kept hearing that. Well, sure enough, I have a reading, and it was his sister because he appeared, and he had died at 3:45 in the morning. He had died in a car accident, hitting his head. And I'm like, you didn't have to make me feel all that. You could have just told me at 3:45. So it's like every day it's like different for me. Like sometimes it's movie reels, sometimes they show, sometimes they make me feel. Like, do you guys get that as well too, where it's different every time?
I'd say it gets stronger, and it does get different. Like the details might present differently for me. Going back to Melanie's point, when she talked about awakening process and how it changed for her when she got older, there was a really a defining moment for me. I think I was in the later years of high school or just out of high school. I was working for Arby's restaurant, and I was working in a local mall by where Mike and I grew up. And there was a woman walking across the food court, and she was walking from Macy's. And I turned to the cashier and I said, she's going to walk up to you. She's going to order a carton of milk, and she's going to tell you that she just found out she's pregnant and she needs the milk because she wants the calcium. So I just stood there, and she walked up, and that exact thing happened. And I just sat there, and the hairs went up on the back of my neck because I thought, wow, okay, there really is something to this. Sometimes you question yourself when you hear things or you see things, and sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't in the way you expect them. But this one happened exactly and it just came out of me. It wasn't anything that was sitting there. It just like came out of me. It was amazing. It was such a great experience.
That's awesome.
It really was.
I just want to give Yvonne a chance to share her story as well. We can see you. Your camera's on. There you go. Oh, we lost her altogether.
Now she's gone.
Okay, but we'll give her a chance to answer that if she wants when she comes back.
So my question,
Go ahead.
Mary, did you look up the number 345 and say what it stood for?
Sorry, could you hear me now? I'm sorry.
I did not, because he had died at 3:45. So that's what I figured was like the connection to it. But no, I did. Normally I do if it's like consistent, but I felt like that was pretty,
pretty obvious.
Hey, I'm
it was
here.
a pretty clear connection. Yeah. That's awesome.
I barely had it typed in, and it popped right up on a search, and it's a protection and a change thing. So it was kind of interesting that popped up. And you guys are talking about life change. So,
excellent.
The skeptic in me back here in the corner is going, So.
Love it.
You think too much. Okay, Yvonne.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Are you right?
Quite a night with technical difficulties today.
What do you think?
Like I said before, growing up, I would see all these things and hear all these things, but I wasn't quite aware why it was happening or if it was indeed happening, to me. But as time went on, it got more and more intense. And it was almost like tugging at me, telling me, you have to pay attention to this. You've got to look into this. And I kept ignoring it, and yet it would get even worse. Like I would get more dreams. I'd get more, contacts. Like I remember, like almost every house I lived in, I would hear things, people walking through in the middle of the night, doors opening and closing, the refrigerator door opening, looking out, and there's nothing there. I would get warnings, like if something was happening in my life, I would get, clues that would just randomly happen. For example, I remember I was trying to figure out something on my phone bill, and I was laying down on my bed, and something came, and there was like a lot of pressure put on me. I wasn't sleeping, but it felt like I couldn't breathe, like something was sitting on top of me. And I had just my eyes closed, and when I opened my eyes quickly, it disappeared. And I look, and my nightstand drawer is open, and there's a phone bill. There's nothing else in there at all. There was just this phone bill, and it was almost like directing me to a particular, answer to a question that I had at that time. And so it was things like that, or like I would be driving, and all of a sudden, I remember coming out of a parking garage very quickly, and I don't know what it was. It came out of nowhere, but it felt like an arm went across my chest to hold me back, and I braked. And as soon as I did that, a small child on a bike came across, and I would have hit him. had I not stopped for that second. So things like that have always happened to me. And as it, as I got older and into my 30s and 40s, it got more and more intense. And so, that's, that's what made me go and ask Christy if there was something going on. And, am I really seeing this? Am I the only one out there feeling this, And, so she told me to look into it. So my awakening was more of kind of, I knew what was happening, but for me to actually acknowledge it and go after it to understand it was my awakening process. And as soon as I did that, so much more started coming through. And it was almost like my aha moment, So that's what I would define as my awakening moment.
I totally resonate with Yvonne on that. I mean, I've had all those experiences, when we were younger, those little ones, but same thing. It just, when I had that aha moment, everything flooded. And to make mention of Mary, when you had asked that question, like, is one day it works one way and another day it works another way? Like every day that happens. Like
I agree with you on that too.
I mean, I think I got something mastered. They show me something different. Something changes. Like I have no control. And it's between like Wendy, Mary, me, Yvonne. It seems that even though we have our individual experiences, and I'm sure we're all thinking in our head, yeah, something like that, or I remember this, there seems to be like similarities between all of us. So, whether it happened real fast and it was a big onset of things within a short period of years, or just stretching it out, we all did tend to have those similar experiences of just acknowledgement. And Christy, you would have had something like that yourself also, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Different little things where I think I saw something and deep down I know that it really happened, but you question, but you're like, no, it really happened, but no, it couldn't have, because your intuition is fighting with the logic of your brain. And it's crazy because that's exactly kind of like how, I guess, if we're going to look at it from that, and this is exactly why I wanted to have this kind of conversation with different people, because although I don't consider myself as having a true awakening process, if we're going to define it the way most of you are, I am actually looking at it from a different perspective and absolutely agree. I had my awakening moment, right? When I had over a friend of mine that I grew up with, right, from the age of 5, to practice a reading on me. And I ended up reading her, and it was like all of a sudden it was natural, like everything I had done my whole life. And then when I finally like started practicing myself and working on it, I went to another friend that I've been friends with since I was 5, and we're still very close today. I looked at her and I was just like, I just can't believe this. And I was at her house and I was just 2 hours just going on, and, just all different things were happening. And she finally, I said, I just can't believe that I like, who would have thought, and who knew, and all this different stuff coming out. And she looked at me and she was like, Crit, that was my nickname when I was younger. She goes, you've been reading me our whole lives. And she stopped me in my tracks with that, because I went, shit, you're right. But you don't look at it like that. And you're like, no, I haven't. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Because any advice you ever gave, any knowing you ever had, that makes it hard. And I will get into this too as parents, but my mother, I can't even imagine trying to parent me, but I know what it was like trying to parent my older kids, because it sucked. Because how are these kids knowing things and saying things to me that go against everything we're taught is okay or right or normal, or, they're ahead of their time. And no, I'm supposed to know better because I'm the parent, and it just puts a whole different twist on things. So, everything that we went through and everything that we thought and felt and knew, it was right, and people didn't know how to handle that. So it gave me a complex, and it really worked on me in a lot of negative ways, but it was good in a lot of positive ways too. So, yeah, no, I totally get it, because that was mine, and I was in my 30s when that happened. My early 30s. Actually, no, my late 20s. Yeah, late 20s, early 30s, something like that. So, Yeah. Nope, Brianna wasn't here yet. Brianna wasn't here yet. It was late 20s.
So my question to all of you, with coming across this awakening moment, were you brought up in a religious homes or some kind of religious education where you push that kind of stuff away, and then with the separation for some reason or another, maybe that was kind of the aha moment, but then you end up realizing it is spiritual and have to go back underneath a different skies or something like that. I've looked at, I was brought up Roman Catholic, but looked at Buddhism, looked at some other different religions along the way just because of the martial arts background. So does that affect you at all?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, yeah, my family is totally like Catholic, same thing. I mean, my uncle still sends me Bible verses telling me to, repent myself. But I was same thing as you. I went and kind of like studied a lot of religions because it's so interesting to like see different views. And it really has opened my eyes up to a whole different world of now that I'm doing what I'm doing. It's just, I look at things differently. And I don't think my dad, who is very religious, I don't want to say he didn't believe me because he's my dad, but he had to come to a gathering of mine and he kind of had to set aside his being so religious. He realized that, okay, my daughter is special. Like he needed to see it for himself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can relate to that, especially myself with my own dad. Absolutely. I think he was more afraid of it because he didn't understand it than anything else.
So Mike and I grew up, Catholic, and thankfully we both had moms that were that probably have have abilities and intuitiveness, and they understood, if not defined to the way, I feel now with things, but I was supported by my mother, but my dad definitely not. He, grew up to Catholic school. He was Irish Catholic, very strong-willed. But the interesting thing, Christy, is when my father was, in the last few years of his life, and he was struggling, he had a very rare brain disease, and he would go to a local mall and he would try to walk it every day to get exercise. He actually called me and he said, I saw Grandpa as clear as day. He showed himself to me in front of me at the mall. And I said, Dad, he's showing himself to you. Just accept it and absorb it. And I think for him, that was such a defining moment too, because he realized what I was seeing and feeling around me. And I think he had a little bit of regret, through it. But the good thing is we moved past it and he showed acceptance and love after that, a little, stronger. Right. So it is challenging, when people grow up in a very strict religion environment.
Absolutely. Because even for myself, huge, and I think Mary, you and I probably went to the same church or belonged to the same congregation, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. But yeah, huge Roman Catholic family, the whole bit. I was never judged. That's the one thing I can say, but nobody was ever strong enough or brave enough or willing in their own right to speak up about it. So it was never as close. And I mean, close as our family was, especially back in the day when I was young. Nobody ever said anything about it, nor did they acknowledge it with me, even privately. So, and it wasn't until I came out publicly with it that lots of other people, especially on the one side of the family, started coming to me saying, yep, even very close people that I spent much time with my whole life. So it was very interesting, but I think that if I look at it, I was so involved with my church, so involved, especially with the religious ed part of things and the rec part of things and the retreat part of things, not necessarily the masses, but I even helped run it for a while. I think that all still defined who I was and helped me spiritually because I needed that religious aspect as well. I loved who I was when I was involved with my church. I just needed to make it my own.
So, Mike, I swear you were reading my mind for not being psychic because that's something I wanted to talk about. So I raised Roman Catholic, so same as most of you guys so far. And I was part of this like retreat team where you would help people get commissioned to be confirmed. I was extremely active with that. And then I had a lot of people that weren't Catholic, but were Christians. And they were what I don't even know, maybe is it not Catholic, but like born again. And I was like really around the community of that. I'd go to their churches when I was younger and be part of that world, which made me feel odd because I didn't know that Catholicism, Christianity was a little bit different than I guess the born agains. I don't even know what groups they put those in anymore. But with that being said, when I was like 19 years old, I worked in a dental lab. I worked in the field of teeth, just like Christy did back in the day. And I was surrounded with a lot of born again Christians. And they kind of said, pick up the Bible. They knew I was passionate. Research it for yourself. And I have gone to Lutheran churches, Presbyterian, Mennonite, Wesleyan, non-denominational. I mean, for a lack of better words, I would have called myself like a church slut. I mean, I was in every hand of every church. And
I don't go along with Aladdin's The Strip Club. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, I don't have a sticker
love
for this
it.
one.
I love it.
I was a church slut, and I would literally go to the places that had the best breakfast. There was,
Isn't it like an oxymoron? A church slut is like an oxymoron there. Come
amazing.
On. It's great.
Free food and a slut. Can't get any better.
Free food. You get a little wine.
Different channels.
Little red vino. You get a host. There you go. How you doing? How you doing?
I mean, I was terrible. There was places like I had my favorites to go to. Like this one on this Sunday had the best like after service food. This one would give you a Tim Hortons gift card if you weren't like part of their parish, and they'd mail it every time you showed up. I mean, but I think that whole experience is I was just trying to find that home. You know what I mean? Like my spirituality husband. Right. Yeah, but church slut for lack of better words. But that, after seeing,
I'm getting t-shirts made.
I know.
Yes.
Maybe we need to introduce her to Hot Dan.
Absolutely. No, she's married. Yeah, but she's less fun.
Okay.
It's all good.
Fun times. So anyways, with that being said, I think I just found who I was through that and realized that no matter what church you went to, that the universe, the creator God, who I am still very passionate about, is not really particularly caring on where I go to see him, because he was in all those places. And because of that, how does that affect me? I think that any time I went to pick up tarot cards or anything in my 20s, that the religion, not the spirituality, pushed me away. Until finally in my 30s, I was like, no, I finally know who I am, and I know God is with me, and I have no question about that. And I started getting obviously a lot of like spiritual signs, and my life started to change, and I feel very solid in my place. So I think it kept me from it, but it also united me with it.
I love that. I love it. And I have to say, a lot of people, I'm very lucky. I don't have a lot of people come at me from that standpoint in a negative way. I have had some experiences with people, but for the most part, I have not had to really, and I'm not inviting it in, but I just, have not had to deal with that. But there have been people who will say, how does it feel to be evil or to dance with the devil, or how can you do that if you're inviting and, dealing with things you shouldn't be, and God doesn't like that, and blah, blah, blah. And every time they bring God into it, especially when it's a religious person, I look at them knowing my own background and how I feel, because I still love my religion, even though it's, it's my own. And I say to them, in my opinion, God made me, and God doesn't make mistakes. I didn't make myself. I didn't create myself. I didn't bring myself here. God and my parents did that. So, and okay. And if you take it to the next level, I'll even say that, yes, I believe that we do choose that. Well, we choose the circumstances, situations, whatever. We have goals and lessons to learn, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, that's my higher power. And he doesn't make mistakes. Everything happens for a reason. So, and it usually shuts him up pretty good and gives him something to think about. It shuts him up in the right kind of way. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. So just to add to that, with my background, so, I was talking to Christy about this actually just, was it yesterday, I believe? But we were talking about how with my background, I have Muslim and Catholic in my background. And so, looking at the different religions, it's amazing how this actually transcends across different religions and different cultures in the same way. You'll be surprised that, people from different cultures and religions and anywhere around the world will tell you they feel certain things like we do, like they have dreams, they have, spirit come to them and talk to them, or maybe they're seeing things. And so it doesn't matter where you're from or what your background is. There are so many different people out there that will share the same experiences that we do. And I'm lucky that, I wasn't like when I would talk to my family about it, they understood and they didn't, say anything negative. But spirits are actually mentioned in so many religions and culturally all over, like the American Indians, they're in the three world religions. They talk about them, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam as well. But a lot of people see it as a negative thing. And, they see it as like dabbling with something that you don't know what's going to come through. And the thing is that we protect ourselves. We make sure that we're only dealing with the white light. We do meditate prior to, doing anything with spirit. And so you're right. When you do that, it's not like you're bombarded with bad spirits at all times. It doesn't work that way at all. I've had maybe one time where I felt that in my whole life, and I'm in my 40s now. So it's not like it's an occurrence that happens regularly. Right. But I remember when I was doing the awakening process and I was meditating, I heard the word speen come through, which I didn't even know what that meant. And I'm like, well, let's see what this means. And I look it up, and it basically meant attachment, which I thought, what? Where is this coming from? Next thing I know, I have a small dog, and my dog literally will not come near me. And I remember, Christy, when I was telling you about this, like for a week, I took my dog to the vet. I thought something was wrong with him. He would run under the bed every time he'd see me. He didn't want me picking him up or touching him. And I'm like, something's wrong with him. But he would come back with a clean bill of health, and nobody knew what was going on.
Sounds like Mary.
Because, and I was thinking, what is going on? And then finally I talked to you, and you said, well, it doesn't mean it's bad. There's something obviously around you, maybe, because even the vet said, was he spooked by something? And I thought, okay, that's odd. How would you even think that? Why would you think that? Because here I am, going through the awakening process. And then I thought, well, maybe he has. And so to make a long story short, I ended up listening to Christy and basically just, reading the Lord's Prayer and telling it to leave. And literally, as I'm saying this, I can see the silhouette of whatever it was just drift away and out my back door. And so, and then my dog was fine. So it could just be a spirit that's not necessarily a bad spirit. It's just kind of was wanting to hang around, and my dog didn't like it. So, but it was quite an interesting thing. And so going, back, it does go across all cultures and religions.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. For sure. 100%. That's great.
And this type of readings and stuff like that, I mean, it's been done for centuries and centuries. It's gone back before the three main. Mm-hmm. And, it just depends on how it's been integrated into what structure with what conquering group. I mean, from different traveling bands, they've always had some sort of shaman or somebody that is done that kind of reading for the group, be it, ancient Greek or the gypsies or, different groups, different ways to look at things, reading tea leaves. I mean, it's there.
So there's a part of the spiritual awakening that I think we kind of didn't, I do not think we kind of touched on. For me, and this happened more when I was in my 30s, but when I was basically I was a dental hygienist cleaning teeth. Circumstances led me to where I would have what I would have understood to say like the real awakening moment, the aha that happened. But after that happened, without all the stories, things in my life, as far as even my body, started to change. For the first year that I really grew spiritually and, with my psychic and my mediumship gifts, I could not eat red meats. I had the empathy for the animal. Steak tasted rancid or bad. I found myself being very pulled to be like vegetarian or almost vegan. Alcohol responded in my body negatively. It impacted me in a way that it never did before. I became allergic to wine temporarily. I can still have drinks once in a while and eat a good steak.
I'm going to say. You can plan a meal out from wherever we're going for a conference.
Right. I have no problem with food now, but there was all these things, perfumes, shampoos, conditioners, laundry detergent. My goodness, I had allergies and the ability to smell and taste, and it's like every sense to the body just became heightened. And then where Wendy said she's getting upped, sometimes I find myself like I can't eat steak now. So I think, oh, well, I'm being upped because now these things are coming back at me and my understanding of what's going on in my body. So these are other things that happen as physical manifestations as the body changes to attune itself to the frequencies of that sixth sense. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, that's so interesting, Melanie. Yeah. There was a period when all I wanted to eat was white American cheese on white bread. And I can't eat normal bread now because, I learned I have to be gluten-free. But we were having dinner at my mom's house and she grilled steak out. And my husband, of course, likes it mooing, right? So he brings it in and I look at him. I'm like, you're not going to eat that in front of me, are you? And I couldn't eat meat. It went on for like a year. I could not eat meat, any meat. Like, it was just crazy. I mean, now I had a little bit of, ground beef today, but I'm mostly vegetarian, vegan. And I just find that my body, every time I go through a transition, you're right. There is a really strong thing with food that's related to it. That's so interesting. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that's funny because I know it sounds crazy, but I find that mine is more towards movies. Like I feel what people are going through, and like scary movies were my thing. Like I watched It when I was 5, and now I watch It and I'm like, oh my God, run. Like I'm like feeling what they're feeling and like they're scared. And I never felt that before. Like I can't watch intense movies anymore. I like freak out as if I'm experiencing what they're experiencing in the movie. It's crazy for me. And I've never been that way. I love scary movies and I can't do it anymore.
It's so intense when you watch scary movies because they really do scare you. I think when I was younger, I could watch the fun fake horror movies, but to watch even Titanic really sticks in my mind when the ship was going down and their bodies were falling in and they were hitting the railing and they had the sound effects for when their body hit the railing. I was in tears sobbing because I could feel that pain inside. It was just so emotional. And everybody in the movie theater is just kind of staring at me. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yes. I'm crying. Yeah.
I'm like that whole person where I'm like, jump or move or swim. Like I'm yelling at the theater.
You're not alone, Mary.
With the empathy, did you feel that it was like increasing as you got older?
Oh, boy, that's a tough question. Yeah, I think so.
Because I feel like with me, I was always an empathetic person, but the intensity seemed to increase more and more as I got older.
I think that for me, I've always had that strong sense of empathy. I think more, it was so overwhelming for me, but now being an adult, older and understanding, I guess, the talent that we all share, that I've learned to manage it and not let it manifest and take over and consume me. Because sometimes I felt like it would consume me and I would just almost go overboard with people that I knew needed kindness or help or something like that, because it felt so strong for me. But now that I'm learning to manage those emotions, I just know I offer support, and I just let them know I'm there for them if they need it. Yeah, so it definitely changed for me.
Okay.
I think it was Melanie or maybe Wendy. Somebody said something about you guys like never felt like you belonged, or you would feel people, and I kind of understand that because I always felt like I had friends, but I could feel everybody's like intent. Like if somebody was having a bad day, or if somebody wasn't feeling right, like you could feel it. So I felt like I had friends, but I never belonged because I could feel what they were all feeling, even as a young age.
Yeah, and Wendy too. The empathy, like the question, the empathy has changed for me, sort of like you. I try to put it in a place that allows me to manage my life. And especially if I'm reading somebody, it comes in so strong that if something happened to them that was very emotional, I will catch the feeling of it, but then not be able to read and process clearly to be of help for them. Because it's become so overtaking that like the tears are coming and I'm feeling it, and then I'm no help. So sometimes I find myself to actually be like non-empathetic, like let me take that feeling and put it over here so that when I'm reading, I can see what we're looking for clearly and not get that overpowering confusion, I guess is the best way to say it. So for reading, I kind of take the empathy and I throw it away. It's just how I do it.
Yeah,
it's the
but
only way I know how to shelve it.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because I think on a certain level we have to do that. For me, there's a lot of empathy with the reading, but that's the core of it for me. But we also have to have that wall up so that it doesn't rule our lives. Sorry, my eyes are watering like no one's business because I've just been.
My words are
It's
so
just
powerful.
getting worse with the light.
Are you feeling Melanie's empathy? She's feeling Melanie's empathy, I think.
Yeah, she is.
The light is hurting my eyes so bad tonight.
Oh,
Guys, I can't even tell
Melanie.
you.
Oh, Melanie.
Maureen is my nurse practitioner. If you are out there listening tonight, I am calling you first thing in the morning because I can just feel it in my head. It's just awful. Sorry, this light is killing me. I'm trying not to play with my face, but I wish. I might do that before bed. Not during the show. I don't need it during this show.
I was looking at the comments. Somebody commented about all of us having a tree in the background, and like, did we plan it? And we literally, I might have missed that part when I hopped off. Literally didn't plan it. That is, we do. We all have trees in the background.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we hadn't gotten to the any of the comments in the chat. Yeah, no, you didn't miss it. I know that was a really cool observation, wasn't it? Because I didn't realize it either.
And I seen it. I'm like, you're right, Christy and Mary, and I'm sure probably Yvonne does, but we can't see Wendy. And then I was like, oh my gosh, Mike even has a tree. Anyway, so the symbol for tonight, energetically, are trees, and trees are growth and grounding and spirituality, and
absolutely,
it's a win-win.
Absolutely,
obviously, it's important to all of us.
Or with all these dental comments, we need a toothpick.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. On that note, we're going to take a commercial break, everybody. Go get your drinks, refill your drinks, your snacks, go visit the little boys or girls room, and we will see you back in about a minute and a half.
And then we will be grabbing comments from the questions from the audience. So please get your questions ready. And where's my commercial?
WLFE-DB.com, where you can find vodcast shows, podcasts, and more like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Paratalk Radio, Just Cindy, and more. So go check out WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Brie, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Ted Van Son Jr. is a seasoned investigator and well-versed in the ways of paranormal investigation. He is now ready to share his ideas and unique approach with all of you. Flashlight, recorder, and comfortable shoes. Hit the ground running as you follow this easy step-by-step guide to a fun and thorough paranormal investigation, perfect for first-time and lightly seasoned investigators. Think outside the paranormal box. Learn all about the technology and techniques used back in the early days of paranormal investigation. You can find these valuable resources online at Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Amazon. Get yours today.
Hi, I'm Jenna Grover. In the world of fashion, we get lost in the cost. Everyone wants that special piece of quality jewelry, but they can't afford it. Not on my watch. I sell handmade quality jewelry for a fraction of the price, and that includes jewelry made of sea glass, natural stone, crystal beads, glass beads, Bigfoot jewelry, and more. If you don't see what you want, email me, because I make custom jewelry too. Check out my website at gbythesea.com. Also, you can email me at jewelry@gbythesea.com.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
Welcome back, everyone, to Where's My Sage? I'm Mike, here with Christy and the panel for the Awakening show. So we're going to take a look here. Sorry, I'm reading some comments in the background here. It caught me off ground. Hey, Tim. So.
Hi, Tim. Just
Yeah, I don't think so, Mr. Shaw, but we'll go with that.
Mike is crazy cool.
Yeah.
Mike's a cool cat, Mike. He's a cool cat, Mike.
He's got more poppers than the rest of us, so I'm going to let him go.
Oh my God, I'm absolutely dying. I ran to the mirror. I was like, oh my God, my eyes are watering so bad. Do I have mascara all over? And now I'm crying all over again, so it doesn't matter.
So
we got cool guys, we got sluts, we got free food at churches. I love it.
Where occasional explicit boy, I've managed to do this in months. Please,
I can teach you guys how to go to church like I do.
I want some Tim Hortons gift cards. Listen.
I know.
Mama's on a budget.
Right?
Now I know why there's a lightning storm in Western New York.
Oh man.
It's true. I would go on Sundays. You got like a $15 gift card every time you showed up if you weren't like a registered like person. So I'd like wait a couple weeks and go. So like, and how they knew is like you would tithe a little bit, right? So they know you were there from the check. So I give a little money and then they gave me more back.
So Melanie, you're not going to hell because you're a psychic medium. You're going to hell because you were taking advantage of the church.
That's right.
I was like 20, but I enjoyed it. Like they wanted to give, and I was willing to receive.
Who wouldn't enjoy free money? I mean, let's just be
seriously.
You know? And there's like coffee and goodies and snacks. I mean, it's the best time. I have to tell you, if you are looking for something to do, go to church.
No,
you could go out
they have the little coffee bars are the best. They give the cookies and they have the espresso, the fancy coffee bars.
Yes.
You get your lunch there. So
and
fun.
the cookies are always good.
You don't get that.
Always good. They're fresh. They're
always
so good.
Yeah, they're never old. Never.
It's for second.
Well, I think we're all going to find each other at the same church one morning.
Yeah.
We'll do a cookie rating.
I'm sure.
Tim, you need to rescue poor Mike. He's outnumbered here.
Yeah.
I think Audrey wrote in the comments, Mike is the ladies' man tonight.
I mean, I thought Dan was from Aladdin, so.
Right? I'm telling you.
When Chrissy showed up, he rode that magic carpet ride, but no, I'm just kidding.
Wow! That made me sound so bad. No, that is. Listen, all I know is when he was like, oh, do you see my friend? She's a psychic medium. And it was all over. Usually people are like, okay, you know, and he was like, oh my God, I'm so into that. And it took us all off guard on that one.
Totally off guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Anywho, moving on. So, who's in the audience? What's going on?
All right. So we had the tree question. What are the questions that we have up here in the audience? Now, most of you guys have kids. We know.
Hopefully they're not watching.
Little one, yeah. Well, we know one. We know one is.
That's right. We know one is.
I know one's in the shower. I don't think my other two are watching, so I think we're saying
the 14 going on 40-year-old is watching. Who?
12.
12. Okay.
12. But yeah.
And her mother's the worst one in the group. So you have fun with that.
Nice.
Just saying.
Well, there's my question for you. For you that have kids, are you noticing the abilities in your children? We know we've had Wendy's daughter on to do a show, and she was beating out the rest of the psychics to the question and the mediums to the questions before the rest of us, and she kept looking at me. I'm like, answer the question, you know. But are you guys seeing that kind of thing with the next generation coming along, or do you see a generational passing of the trait? I guess
I, for one, can say that my kids are as messed up and screwed up as I am. Yes, thank you for asking.
Yes,
okay, they've got that on video now to be used against you sometime later.
Oh, I've said that to their face. They're just like me.
No, I mean, Yes, I 100% agree. My son has been able to see since he was 3. I mean, like, it would wake him up every morning. He would scream that a woman was in his face, and then he would be playing with a little ball or a little boy in the morning. And we found out after having a medium come in, because I couldn't. It was weird because I couldn't sense what he was sensing, so that was weird to me.
It's frustrating,
but
isn't
come
it?
to find out. Right. And in our old house on Grand Island, it was a farmhouse before it was our house. And a little boy was killed and his mom never got over it. Like after reading articles and have a medium coming in. So he would see the little boy. They weren't, and it was weird because they weren't together. Like the mom couldn't see her son. So they were both like trying to communicate, but they couldn't. So they were going through my son. It was crazy. So yeah, he's extremely sensitive like I am. And I've been doing a lot of background, and I come from a family of travelers from Italy. Like my great grandmother, my great aunt was a medium here in Niagara Falls that she come to find out she was doing mob wives. So it's like, it's very long in my heritage. So it's funny that, I know, I wish I was doing that.
That's amazing. Hey, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, true.
You shall receive, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I never really put much thought in it before I had my daughter, but after I had my daughter, and she has shown so many instances where she definitely has the ability. I had approached my mom, who I knew had intuition, and my sister, and I think it kind of is like, some people can play the clarinet real good, and if your parents can play the clarinet or the drums, then, that ability kind of comes through. So I think it started with my grandfather, which is what my mom told me. And then to me, where they've never really actively done anything. But for my daughter, there's been so many crazy instances, but one sort of sticks with me. She was like maybe 8 years old, and I was on a mission that morning to go see somebody who was in hospice care, and they were just about to cross, and they really wanted a medium there. And I was kind of like under a sense of obligation to go. So I was getting ready to go in the morning, and I was standing outside waiting for my daughter to go on the school bus. And she looks at me and she just turns her head and she says, "Mom, it's really dead outside today. It's dead this morning." And like, I didn't understand, like, who says that? Like, she's saying it because it's quiet or whatever. But before I made it to that person's house, I got a phone call and she passed. It's like my daughter didn't know where I was going, but it was like she passed when my daughter said that.
Oh my goodness.
It was just the craziest thing. And she talks about having all these understandings of her friends and knowing things, but I try to allow her to express what she's getting, but I do not encourage the behavior at this point, because I feel like she's got to live like a little bit of this earthly balance before that comes piling in like it did to me, because at the age of 14, I think that could be a lot. So I just, yes, but I don't tell her how to expand on it. I'm just like, good, cool, yeah, great, sure. Without telling her it's bad, obviously, I'm not gonna, it's what I do, but without saying, did you ever try this? Or let me help you out, or let's sit down and use a deck of cards. Because I don't know if it's the right choice or not, but I really just want her to be like, live childhood before jumping into spirituality in that sense.
But don't you find that, especially having raised two already, right? So Brianna is living a very different life and has a very different mom than Billy and Abby did. And, you know, I found, because they were in their early teens by the time I came to fruition, had my real awakening moment, right? So I found by looking back that everything I used to do and everything I fell back on my religion and my faith to help me get through things and handle things with them. But it also turned out it's everything I was taught as a medium when I actually mentored and, went out of my way to get a grip on this. And, like if Billy especially is overly super sensitive as a medium and he's a hardcore empath. And when he was little, he's always worn his heart on his sleeve, and he would always have issues and would always say there was a dark figure that would be in his room, and it always, would never leave him alone, blah, blah, blah. So I always put up the monster shield. So I would address quietly on my own as the mom and take control without him knowing, help him to say, okay, you're not allowed to do this, or to scare me, you have to leave my room, kind of like stranger danger. And then before I would leave, I would protect him and do one last thing and say, okay, here we go. Now picture all of the white light inside your room. And to me, it's just the white light of the Holy Spirit, not just, but that's exactly what we're taught. That's exactly how we protect and ground. And it's what we go to, right? No matter what religion background we have, it's the highest, most pure. And I would surround him in this shield of white light. And that was just instinct back when he was 4 years old and I was 23, 24. So, not really knowing, just going by pure instinct. So don't you think that I think you're helping her anyways. We don't need to push them and introduce so much, I guess, because I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is we already, I think, do things without realizing we're doing it, helping them along.
I find with Audrey that little A, that I have to teach her to ground, and I have a singing bowl, and that helps her tune, bring her emotions back, because she's the type of person who won't react, and then a year later an emotion will come out and it's really heavy for her. So I'm teaching her to understand her emotions, not be afraid of them, talk about them. I think that's just a gradual process of growing with it. When you do that, do we pull out anything other than words and maybe the Bible and some verses and some prayers? No. It's a very spiritual side for us in our home. I want her to fully embrace what she has, but protect herself at the same time, and feel that she can talk to me about anything and come to me about anything. Because that's really important. If you have children that you are seeing things or do have sensitivities to things, try not to shut it down. Try to talk to them about it. Teach them to pray for protection and protect yourself and ground yourself, and research that, because you don't want your child growing up feeling that they have to suppress everything, because down the road that's really going to cause more issues for them, I feel, personally, just from experience. Because at first, when Audrey started showing abilities to me at a very young age, even before she could talk, I knew there was something going on. I didn't know how to manage it. And once I learned to manage it and understand it a little bit better, I could help her manage it. And for me, it's just about teaching her to manage it. And again, that's just like a natural process of growing, I think, for her personally.
I love that word, manage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I always said that I always had to learn to grow and adapt. Adapt and adjust as I grew up. That's how I had to do it. So I love that because I can totally relate to that myself.
I mean, with all of us growing up with different abilities and seeing different things, some of us had support, some of us didn't. And we know what it's like. I mean, not to have support and to have, because I think we've both been in there with different people in our lives. I guess the big thing is the emotions they feel from other people is you want them to understand that it's not necessarily their emotions that they're feeling or picking up on somebody else's, and to learn how to manage that, because that can be overwhelming, especially in big crowds like school, sports, and things like that.
Absolutely.
And once we understood it and we learned to ground ourselves, it's helped her. It's helped her in bigger crowds, definitely. Yeah.
Right. So if it sounds like that's advice that you would give somebody else, then, if somebody else was having issues or didn't understand what was going on, you would recommend learning or teaching your children how to deal with their emotions and really acknowledge them in a healthy way.
Definitely. Acknowledging them is the biggest part as a parent, right? Because you're their biggest role model they're ever going to have. Mm-hmm. And if you're shutting them down and suppressing them, imagine what that's going to do to them. Right. I mean, and even if you don't understand it right away and you're scared of it, you have to embrace it and you have to learn, reach out to Christy, reach out to Melanie, because they will help you through that. Because you want your child to grow up healthy and strong and understand it, because they're going to go to college and they're going to have different experiences and you want them to manage it.
So, I have seen lots. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What Wendy says is really valid. I have seen a lot of younger kids that are extremely a doorway open and scared and don't know what to do with it. And to manage that is really a healthy thing, because I even wonder a lot of anxiety and a lot of what's happening in society with the kids these days, it could be related to that. So to be able to help them if it is something that is in the spiritual capacity, I think is helpful for them. So yeah, I think Wendy, you just said it epically.
Right. I love that. You. Mary, what advice would you give parents? What have you learned?
I mean, well, first of all, how great is it that we have people like Christy and Melanie and Wendy and myself to guide these young kids, because I didn't have that growing up, and it sounds like you guys didn't either. And if I would have had that, maybe I wouldn't have had anxiety like I did, or all these doctor bills. But that's my advice is listen to them. I love that, listening to listen versus listening to react. So really listen to them, because they have a voice and they need to be heard. And then if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to somebody who does feel, because I know for myself, I had to reach out to somebody else. I just felt like I was more comfortable to have my son speak to somebody else, and he was a little more open. That was just my case and my scenario. Now we kind of talk about it, but when he was little, I just felt more comfortable reaching out. So I think that it's great that there's so many people, especially in Buffalo, to connect to. And from a medium to a medium, just talking like this, like we're allowed to talk to each other and kind of lean on each other and understand each other. Kids need that as well. So having a kid speak to a kid who goes through it is huge. And I've noticed that with my son.
Thank you.
That's great. Yvonne, do you have any comments or anything you want to add?
With my kids, I haven't really noticed much with them just yet, but as my own professional, my own experience, my parents were very supportive, and it was really nice because I remember, one time we were on vacation, we went to visit my mom's boss, who had this old colonial house. I mean, it was like really old, over 100 years old. And the last day we were there, I was laying there and I remember seeing an apparition there and a spirit. It was a female, and she, presented herself in old colonial clothes, and she was wearing, had a tray in her hand, and I freaked out and I ran out screaming. I was still young and ran into my mom's room at the time. And the first thing she said to me was, "What did you see?" And that kind of helped validate what was going on with me. And I wasn't scared to speak up because she was very open to it. And she said, what did you see? And I told her, and she was like, "Oh, it's okay," and it felt so good that I wasn't thinking, "Oh my gosh, what's happening to me?" And I had somebody to talk to about it. And so I loved her approach to it because it really made me feel a lot more comfortable.
So I have a kind of funny story, the circumstance that happened to my daughter when she was 3 years old, if you guys want to hear it. Okay, so this like outshines anything that I feel has ever happened to me. So back in the day when the Bills were winning every time, no, I'm joking. So I was going to a Bills game and
what snowstorm?
Wait, what year was it? 1982? I don't even know.
Yeah, right. But so I was going to a Bills game and I had my friend Jamie watch my daughter, and she's about 3, so she was learning to be potty trained. And I come home, after the Bills game to pick her up, and she says, "Your daughter's creepy like you are." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said that she was asking her, "Do you need to go to the bathroom?" And my daughter looked her straight in the face and says, "No, I don't want to go in there." And she's like, "Why?" She goes, "Because I don't like the lady in the bathtub looking at me when I go pee." Like, she gave her attitude. And I'm like, was there a lady in your bathroom? Now, I knew somebody had died in her house, but I really don't know if I ever knew how. And she says, "Yeah, the lady that passed in the house passed in the tub." She goes, that's why I had to replace the door when I got it. There was axe marks from the firemen. So my daughter saw this lady in the tub looking at her when she was trying to pee. And I don't know if she saw that reoccurrent thing or if like the lady's just like sitting there like, "This is my hangout. I died here." But so I guess what my friend Jamie did is she went in the bathroom, pulled the curtain closed, and says, "Now go pee. You can't see her."
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, I never had that. Like, I never had that experience. I wish I would have been there when she said that, but pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy. Wow,
that's pretty cool.
So my father-in-law, he can you hear? Yeah. Okay.
I was yelling at Mike.
You were yelling at Mike. Oh, just bring it out. Tell us all. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, we always have to switch. It took him a long time. We always have to be certain sides.
The Brady Bunch moving around. Oh my God! Here, So Audrey was, I think she was about 2. I can't remember the exact age. I'm not good with death dates in my family, but my father-in-law had passed. I'm moving all around. My Jean's dad had passed in the house, in his own house, and we found him. He was still alive, but just barely. He had a massive stroke, and he was sitting when it happened, and he actually leaned upside down, so his whole head and face were bruised when we found him. So the neighbor had taken Audrey at that point. There was a chief of police living across the street, so he came over and helped us move him off, the chair. And the ambulance came, and we had to wait for family members to come in the country before they all just to decide what to do. And it was about a week after he passed. Audrey was up in her bedroom, and I could hear her talking to somebody and answering questions. And she's still about 2. She comes downstairs, and I said, "Hey, honey, what's going on upstairs?" And she goes, "Oh, that man keeps coming to visit me now, and he sits on the end of my bed." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Do you know his name?" She goes, "No, but he kind of looks like Papa, but his face and head are all bruised." And I said, "Oh," and I go, "What's he saying?" And she's, viewing her words. And I said, "You know what? Welcome him in and protect him. That's Papa. And he's just coming to protect, say hi and tell you that he's okay." And she says, "Well, why is his face bruised?" And I had to explain to her that's, when he passed, that's how we found him. And spirits are going to represent themselves in very different ways. Every spirit is different. Every situation is different. And he's presenting himself in the last way that you saw him, because he probably thought you saw him going out on the stretcher. and you remembered him that way. I go, but he's okay. And he's probably trying to tell you that. So it lasted for about a week or two. And, then the visits didn't come like that. And she doesn't remember it. I always ask her about it, but it's interesting. Is like, you've always just got to embrace what kids are saying to you and take the validity of what they're doing and just support them with it. And I thought that was cool that the first person that really saw him was her. He came to her. That's awesome. So that really means a lot to her.
I love that. That is so cool. But why does my father-in-law always come to me? He always comes to me, always has a message for my husband. I'm like, you tell him.
Well, maybe he would jump out of his skin. Just saying. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Justin sees a lot now, dealing with me. I think he's used to it.
And that is absolutely the way, isn't it? I know, because I know people in my house are like, what the heck's going on? How come I'm feeling this? How come I'm catching glimpses of that? Why does the house feel weird? I'm like, no, that would be because of me. Sorry.
Because you're bringing stuff home.
Because your awareness is, you're heightened. Your own senses, their own senses. Actually, the first mentor I had warned us about that and said your spouses, your families, even your animals will act differently because your vibration is just going to be raised. And the more open you are, the more people you live with are going to pick up on it, whether they realize it or not. So pretty interesting.
Folks, I jest with some of this stuff, but the reason I'm doing this is because it brings that certain topic along, the little ones that are in the background, the protection of yourself when you're doing this stuff, the finding the mentor, the getting extra help, again, it's the energy healing world kind of runs along with this world. So that's kind of why I followed it a little bit more. So check them out. Please like, share, and subscribe. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for our panel this evening?
So I thought I'd bring Mike into something, which most of you guys don't know here, except for Christy and Mike. So where we talk about like an awakening or trusting your intuition, how about if you saw Bigfoot? Would you consider that a Bigfoot awakening? Because I have, and I'll tell you, I question it.
I love that
all the time. So this is like, how about like the Bigfoot awakening? It became.
Yeah.
I was on my honeymoon with my husband, and I was mocking him for watching Finding Bigfoot. Like, they're never gonna find Bigfoot. Like, Bigfoot's not real, and he's like, Bigfoot's real, and this is prime squatching territory. We were going to Lake Tahoe, and I'll tell you, foot in mouth the next day. We were at some national park. I don't know, Yosemite, I think, and. If you ever go anywhere like Lake Tahoe, there's like these like cliffs and no guardrails. I don't know. So I had major anxiety. And so I was a passenger seat driver. My husband wasn't allowed to go over like 2 miles an hour, like probably. Well, anyways, literally Bigfoot crossed in front of both of us. And I was like, I couldn't even talk, but I literally saw it, and I go back to that time all the time and be like, nah, that didn't happen. That's impossible. That can't be real. So I had a Bigfoot awakening. So I want to claim that as my moment. So
she's breaking you down, Mike. She's chiseling away and breaking you down.
I've heard this story, and we've had plenty of conversations about this over the last couple of years. So did you start noticing your gifts prior to having that experience, or was it after having that experience?
So this is the thing. Once something becomes your reality, like I even think for my husband, he was there and he saw it. And this is like, I was already very spiritual. I was already like practicing professional mediumship. But once something gets in there, like we saw it and it's real, then it's like the energy starts coming out where you have different experiences where Bigfoot shows themselves. So I always feel like when you open up your awareness, you're more capable or valuable to see that this is real, and those opportunities find themselves. I think it happened because I mocked the universe so seriously. The universe was like, oh yeah, let me show you. So I'm like, fairies are real. Gnomes are real. Mermaids are real. Like, I'm good. Everything's real. Santa Claus isn't real for me presents. No. So like so be careful what you say, because I just feel like the universe was like, oh yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Now you're stuck with it. You're
right.
one of them. You're stuck admitting you saw Bigfoot.
I always pray to God to teach me patience. Help me with my patience, right? So every time I would focus on learning to be more patient, I'd always get stuck behind that 85-year-old guy while I'm 20 minutes late for work. And I'd be, oh my God, just move over, turn. I hope you're going to turn once that's wait on. And then at like the 20th time after that happening, it dawned on me. Driving. Yeah, that was my lesson. To be patient.
Yeah. So Mike has a question here in the chat room now.
Yeah, there you go.
C Star wants to know, Michael, have you had any other evidence of paranormal creatures like Bigfoot? And I find it very interesting that C Star has actually referred to Bigfoot as a paranormal creature, because that is a huge controversial topic.
True.
Because there are so many different opinions. Is it real? Is it not? Is it paranormal? Does it jump? Does it this? Does it that? So what do you think, Mike?
Well, I sent you and our boy Ray something this morning that kind of went back to biblical texts and old Sumerian stuff today. And it was very interesting how it played, and more stuff I want to look at, some older text on where the paranormal hits, where coincides with some of those original physical beings. So kind of a combination of both. Have any other evidence of anything else other than Bigfoot? We've got a couple of cryptids. I really want to do some looking into some older history here in the area. But again, seen some weird stuff. Sheila, who's in the audience, was with us. We had Tanya, who's one of the local viewers that got picked up for a Bigfoot trip with Christy and I. And as we drove through some really spooky woods looking for Bigfoot, I got stuff on dash cam that I can't explain what was moving, that the lights weren't reflecting off of anything.
And in that moment, I didn't see it because my head was down because I was picking up on something. And as I'm down and I'm in that moment that I'm in, they're all in the car saying, oh my God. And I look up and I missed it, but he's got it. Yeah. So it all coincided together.
A mass sliding through. But, have I been there for rock throws and screams and all that other stuff? Yeah. Have I talked to a lot of people? There's, but that's the whole pleasure, there was a question earlier about having that Bigfoot experience, and just getting out in the woods and getting that energy, like we talked about the trees earlier. It's that energy that you're going to get there. So you want to hit Ivana's question?
Yeah, there's another question here I want to get to because we're running out of time. So is it more common for women to be mediums than men? And if so, why do you think that is? All right, ladies, what do you think?
That's an interesting question for sure. I think that women are more intuitive in I guess in tune with their bodies and accepting of things. And I think men may not want to accept what they feel or see sometimes, and not sure what it is. I mean, that's just what I see around me sometimes happening. That is true, though.
I disagree. I've seen more men, like, just throughout my experience. I see a lot more men, though. I feel like I've had a lot of men mentors. I mean, Tim being one of them, but even growing up, I mean, I feel like I've seen definitely more men than women, for me, at least.
That's interesting.
Here's the thing is, look at the energy styles. As an empath, you show more emotion and getting that out there, which is not something that was considered manly. But as first responders or military folks, they use that sixth sense before something blows up in front of them or burns down. So that energy, that do I turn right or do I turn left? It's there, but how it's used and what you're going to be considered of, how your gifts are played out.
Right.
You can't. And I've seen 50-50 You know, everybody has something. And as we play more with energy work and the quantum realm and stuff like that, and the more scientists I talk to, I think there's stuff there, but it's who's come out and what societal setup is there, depending on your culture. What cultures put which step foot forward? You know, is it a medicine man in this culture, or is it a a gypsy reader and something else? You know, that the gift there is just where that bloodline running.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds really weird about bloodline, but okay. And I'm going to shut up for a minute.
Well, no, I want to say, Mike, yeah, absolutely. 50-50, I think it runs. I just think it's society stigmata on how we're supposed to be. And so I think a lot of men just hide it because they don't want to look like soft. Maybe. I don't know.
Melanie, that's exactly what I was trying to say, but I guess I was a little more PC and not wanting to put it out there like that, but it is. I mean, yeah, I think it's a manly thing. Honestly, sometimes they just don't want to admit it. And like what Christy just said, Christina just put, she said they don't call it women's intuition for nothing. I mean,
well, and and it's funny because with the people that have worked with me, I have had a handful of men who work with me. And it's really refreshing. And I mean, I've had a group on and off for 6-7 years now. And, not just the men that I currently work with, but the men who've worked with me over the years, or at least joined the groups that I used to have. And it's very, very refreshing because at one point I had 20 people in a group, and I think 5 or 6 of them, there were 5 or 6 men who would come and go from that group as well. It was great because to get that input and have that perspective, it's imperative, I think, because, Chrissy, we joke and say, yeah, well, of course, but she's right, because women's intuition, it's so different, yet it's so much the same, but our perspectives are unique. And we need that, and I think it's just true just for the human race, period. With men versus women, we need that combination or that way of thinking and perspective. I think it's just good when men can just feel like they can, like I said, my son wears his heart on his sleeve. He's just a natural born empath. He's emotional because it's a human thing. It's not a man thing. It's not a woman thing. It's a human thing, and we tend to forget that. So, no, I think that's awesome, and I encourage it. I think it's so important. I mean, it's just like Melanie mentioned, we're in dental, and, our backgrounds are dental, and, for hygienists and I'm an assistant, you don't see men doing that. I had 3 men in my class when I went to school for that, which was very rare.
Oh, wow.
And that was back in early 2000s. So yeah, it was, you just don't, but you're seeing more and more, which is great. People are just learning. I think it's becoming more socially acceptable to just be who you are and to just put it out there. You know what I mean? And I think that is also why there is such a great awakening with people of all different ages. I've had people as young as 18 in my groups and mentored them. And I've had people who literally were in their early 70s, wanted to finally open up and own it and learn more about what they've done or what they were capable of their whole lives. Well, so it's been really enlightening for me,
If you look at nurses too, the majority of people who are out there as nurses, you do know that nurses are some of the most strong empaths you're ever going to meet. Because I feel like nurse work is service work. Honestly, they put their heart into every patient that they have. And you see a couple men. I know 3 offhand to every maybe 20 nurses that I know, and it's growing. But yeah, I think that falls along the lines of what Melanie was saying. Also.
Right. And I mean,
talking about work.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, talking about work, do you guys find, because it seems like we all kind of have different professions. But fun fact, I was going to be a dental hygienist, but then I saw blood and I was like, no. I
went to the dentist today.
Yay, so big.
Do you guys? Yay. Do you guys find that it is so, like, for me, I work in the corporate world and I pick up on people and intention. So I always say there's no bad people, but intentions cannot be always best served. And I have to shelter myself because I find that I can pick people that I work with, like, okay, maybe you don't have the best intention, or maybe you're kind of going to throw somebody on the bus. Like, I already know ahead of time. Do you guys find that as well too?
Well, when I did dental hygiene, I just knew everything about people. And my boss would make a comment like, were you everybody's best friend, or how do you know that? But now for the past, I think it's 9 years, I've been practicing as a psychic medium full time and Reiki. So I don't see anybody in any job but this one. But I do notice that, like you said, anybody that I interact with, I can feel their intentions. I can feel if they're good, not good or bad person, but if they're being if their integrity is in check,
Truthful,
or if they're being honest or forthright. Yes. So I can kind of get a feel on people, and sometimes they didn't even do anything, and I just need to step back from them, or I hug them. I know you don't hug them. I don't literally hug them, but I bring them at me. So yeah, no, absolutely. I notice that in every capacity. I think my husband, I do that to him sometimes. I tell him how he's feeling. He doesn't like that. Yes. But I'm like, no, you're not telling me something because I know it. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like,
that's your job as his wife. Okay.
That is so true. That is so true.
Yep.
Amen to that. Yep.
Yeah. So yes. I do tell my daughter everything. I know, like, don't walk, don't move, don't do this. I push cups at the kitchen tables over because I think it's going to fall. And I think I've avoided like millions of accidents. And my daughter's like, stop, let me just be me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Whatever.
No, agreed.
So we're running out of time. So I want to touch on one more thing before we have to wrap up. We're going to have to do this again because this is definitely at least a minimum of a 2-hour show, if not 3 or 4 or 10, but that's okay. So from this point moving forward, knowing where you're all at with your journey, what do you see for yourself? What are you doing now? And what do you see for yourself? Because people assume, like, I've had lots of people say to me, oh, I guess I finally gave in and I just need to learn about this. I have to do something, but I could never do what you do, or I don't want to do it the way you do it. And I'm like, you don't have to. That's not what it's about. We all are on a different journey. If you would ask me, am I going to be in the public eye years ago? If you asked me if I was going to be a dental assistant years ago, I would have laughed at you. Are you kidding? No, not in a million years. So what does everybody think? Like, let's just go with each one and see, where are you at and what do you want or hope to do with your gifts?
So I feel that I'm definitely more confident and grounded in the feelings I have around me, what I'm doing. I still think everything's always a journey. What I would love to do is just help people with my abilities, with my healing, with messages I get. I'm trying to grow still. There's always room for growth. There's always learning. I'd like to become a Reiki master. And I think I talked to Christy about that. And get in tune with that, because I really feel, I work with people in my profession. I'm in real estate. I was in corporate life and human resources for almost 10 years. And I was in a glass house. And at times that could have been very overwhelming for me. And I feel like I do want to work with people. I haven't been shown yet in what capacity, but I do have a goal of wanting to become a Reiki master.
Good for you.
HR.
And I'm going to say, just threw me under the bus. Melody's always yelling at me. Why aren't you teaching Reiki? Why do you keep sending them to me? Because I'm not ready to teach Reiki. I just didn't want to do it.
My spirit guide tells me you're the one who's supposed to teach me, so I'm waiting.
Oh, no pressure. Thanks. Melody's right here. She'll be happy to do it.
Aw. Christy should
I
love you.
Thank you.
No, this way.
Next.
So for me, oh boy, well, I usually tend to follow where the universe puts me or what I am called to do. I've experienced reading people one-on-one now for, I can't believe it's probably been 10 years at this point. Reiki, I love it. It's a passion. It's great. But I think that what I'm passionate about now is just to bring awareness. Like, this show is exactly like my I don't know, my thing. I love it. Like, the psychic truth is what I will call it. Like just bringing out that this is normal, that we experience this. Some people may not. Maybe pull the taboo off of the psychic world. And I really do want to like be able to help the community as a whole. And I don't know in what capacity that would be, but basically assisting the community. That is really where I want to go. So if it's through spirituality or whatever capacity, that's great. But if I could just explain to the world that even though we are all awesome and magical beings, that this necessarily isn't magical, and we have this ability inside of ourselves that was gifted by God, because he made us perfect, right, Christy? And that as every person out in this world could just realize that there's always a spark of that light in you too, then I feel like that would make me happy. So that's really where I want to take myself. So, yeah. Yay.
Oh my God, you guys are so beautiful. I'm gonna like cry. No, I agree with both you two. Like, I mean, Wendy, like HR, I'm in the corporate world too, so I totally understand where you're coming from. And I'm blessed to have an amazing mentor, Sarah at Dragonfly. Like, she's really kind of taken me under her wing and has helped me through understanding and where to go. And I feel like I love doing one-on-one readings. I love touching people and healing people, but I really, it sounds crazy, but I love doing ghost hunts. Like, but it's not like my husband gets so excited when like machines go off because, you know, that's him physically seeing it. But for me, it's giving the spirit a voice. And like, I feel like I'm healing them because I'm allowed to give them a voice. Like, I love Braystone. I've been there a couple times. Heather's amazing, and she's allowed me to connect with spirit. So I feel like that's like I love gallery work, but I really love doing these hunts. Like, I think it's so exciting to connect with them and speak with them, because I don't think that I think so many of these spirits aren't heard and they just want to give their message. And I think that that's so beautiful.
I love that, Mary, because I agree. That's one thing I
definitely
try to
agree
talk
with
about.
you.
And I feel like it's the same, that you don't hear the other side of things. You don't hear about what we do for spirit. So go ahead, Yvonne. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you about that. You know, my thing is that obviously I'm learning a lot more, and I'm, you know, getting to understand more about the world around me, and it's just such a nice feeling to give somebody closure when, you know, they've been trying to talk to their dead mom or their, you know, father that's passed or whatever. But it also gives closure to the spirit who's been trying somehow to get a message to them. And you know, they're trying to figure out, how do I do this? And then they finally do it. And it's like both sides rest, you know, once they hear the message. And so it's very gratifying to be a part of that.
Cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. 100%. So any last comments before we wrap up? Girls, this has been amazing tonight. It really has. We could.
Well, I know where I'm going. I'm going to Aladdin and churches with Melanie and Christy over here. So
let's do it.
We're gonna go on a girls' tour, or a tour of the local churches and the Greek food.
Great, and I'll pick up on all the bad people before you get there. Wonderful.
The whole congregation will be full, right? Everybody will be coming to the church, and they'll be wondering why.
That's awesome. Yeah, Mary, it's their Aladdin's is like our Olympia here.
I love it. I'm coming.
Have you ever been? Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
We're gonna do a date. It'll be fun.
Absolutely.
I mean, this has been amazing.
Mike can be our driver.
I know Mike's got the limousine over there. So fun.
Yeah, wow. I love this, Christy. Thank you so much. This is a great experience.
Yes,
this should happen every day. I loved it.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate having you all and having your input. You are wonderful. There she is. Wait, I got this. We got to go off on a high note.
Here goes Chrissy. Go see Hot Dan. We're on it.
Oh,
I hope watching? What if he's watching? Oh my God.
That'd be even better. That'd be.
Yeah. My mom liked him too. So
Your mother
you go.
loved him.
She did. June, if you're watching, we know your number. We got your number.
So on that note, all right, we're gonna get Mike a tux. We'll let Sean, handle the doors. Mike can do the driving. It's all good. We got this, girls.
We got this. We could do a show from Aladdin's. What do you think?
Yes, I'm down.
A church tour, and then we'll stop for lunch.
Yes,
that'd be fun.
How's your head, Mike? Look at my lights.
My headache's going away now. It just dissipated. So I'm hoping Mike's is going away too.
That's it. I think Mike's just got worse.
Mine got worse.
Oh yeah. Nice.
So on that note, seriously, we want to thank all of you. You ladies are wonderful. You're doing such amazing work, and we're very lucky that you took the time, because you're all very busy people, to come and spend this night with us. So thank you. Yes, we would love to do it again. Absolutely. And keep doing what you're doing. Keep helping to make the world a better place, because God knows we need it at this point. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer. Michael, is there anything else you want to say before we let these ladies go enjoy their night?
Thank you.
Or go to bed.
Be safe.
Whatever.
And sample on. And I'm gonna roll us out here. So
okay. He's just gonna end the show. I was just saying goodbye to the guests. I guess he's just deciding the show is over. All right. So to everybody out there in the chat room and everyone out there listening, thank you for always following us and for being there. We couldn't do what we do without you. So in the words of my partner, until next time, stay safe
and sample on.
Good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night.
Bye.